Hello and welcome back to episode 6 of the IWIN series. My name is Grant Maseng. I'm the founder of Apex Academy, and also I have coaching clients that are entrepreneurs that make over 10k a month. So the topic of today's conversation is, what should I think about when it comes to starting my own business? There's a few fundamental things that I think most business owners get wrong when they start a business, and it's really important that they get this right, because if not, you're going to be up in for a really, really difficult journey. So I'll give you an example. There's two people in our community, and they've got they've got a cybersecurity business, and their experience previously before getting into business was cybersecurity, and that's what they moved towards. And honestly, they're absolutely lovely guys. I really, really enjoy speaking to them. Really active, really engaged, hard workers, and just genuine people. So I actually felt like it was quite difficult having this conversation with them, but I felt obliged to basically say to them, hey, look, I'll be honest, the business model that you guys are using is really difficult, and it's going to be hard for you to scale it. And here's why, right? And I gave 4 points. I can't remember exactly what those 4 points are, but I'm going to be trying going through about 5 or 6 different criteria that I think is important when you start a new business. And the first thing that is important is there needs to be a real need and pain of I actually need this service. Okay, that's step one. Someone has to be sitting in a position where they're like, I'm struggling, I'd really like this thing. Okay, because if you try and target an audience that isn't suffering, the likelihood of you actually getting their attention and their money is very low. Okay, because they've got a million other pains that need solving. They've got to decide, okay, what is the most important pain for me to solve in my life? If you think about it yourself, right? If you think, okay, in my life right now, if I had an extra £500 and I had to spend it there, what would I spend it on? Okay, that's probably your biggest pain, right? Whatever you would spend that money on, the pain is, for example, if you buy a new laptop, the pain is my laptop right now is currently too slow. Okay, if I give you another £500, what would be the next thing that you spend it on? Okay, what would be the next thing that you spend it on? That's how you've got to think about, why would someone come to you and be like, okay, the thing that I want to spend my money on next is this thing. Okay, and I think that's the first thing. Their cybersecurity business, the nice thing about it is that it's essential, but the negative thing about it is that people aren't sitting there crying out in pain thinking, oh, I need a cybersecurity test before I can continue living and breathing, right? Their business, their company, it still works. It's probably just a little bit more of a risk, but it's still they can still get on with their day, right? So it's very rare that people are in much pain, and that's the first thing. Okay, the second thing is that you want to have a business that has high stickability, right? This is something that one of my coaching clients talks about, and actually, I've never heard the word outside of the conversations that we've had, but stickability is a really good way to put it in your mind, of that when a customer does come to you, they're so enwrapped in your ecosystem. And I've got a great example for this right now. Apple has got great stickability. Apple Watch, iPhone, MacBook, iPad. Okay, and you bet when I need a new phone, it's going to be another iPhone. When I need a new laptop, probably another MacBook, right? Another tablet, it's going to be an iPad, right? And I don't particularly care for Apple. I'm not oh my God, I absolutely love Apple. But the products, the way that they integrate with each other, the way that it's become somewhat essential in my life, it means that it's got high stickability. So that now I'm in the ecosystem, I'm going to stay here for a long time. Okay? With something like cybersecurity, you might have a test and then you might not need another test for a year's time. It's got low stickability, which means that realistically, people, it's hard for you to predict your revenue. Okay? So that was the second thing that I mentioned. Have something that's got high stickability. A gym membership has high stickability because people start a gym membership and he wants to constantly keep changing the gym membership. What happened to my words? He wants to keep changing their gym membership. People want to be able to just stick with one thing and be yeah, okay, this is it, right? You might have a favorite food that you like having on Fridays, right? You might have a favorite pizza place that you like going to. Every Friday you might go to that pizza place. It's great, okay, that's stickability. It becomes part of your routine. It becomes part of what you do. Like, that's what you want to think about, okay? How do I make sure that my product or service is integrated into someone's life? The more integrated it is, the less likely they are to leave. The more time period you have to actually have an impact and show how good your customer service is, how good your product is, and also you generate more cash, right? Because if someone's in your ecosystem, the likelihood of them buying once, twice, 3, 4 times increases because they come into contact with you much more. So that's the second thing, right? The third thing, and this is actually really important. This has been like so important for us recently, and it's the ability for people to refer. Like, if your customers can't refer you to anyone else, so this is the question I asked them. I said, hey guys, you've been running your business for 9 months. How many of your customers have come through referrals? And they said none. I said, okay, none of your customers have either been given the right platform or given the right instructions to actually refer someone, okay? Or your customers aren't in an ecosystem that will then refer other people to you. So for cybersecurity, like, if you're a tech-based business and you're working in a specific department on a specific product, you might not know a lot of other people that are in the same position as you, which means that the likelihood of you referring is going to be very low. But if, for example, you're someone who, again, like, wants to get fit, right? You probably also know someone else who wants to get fit. So if you start doing like a new workout plan, or you get a new like Apple Watch and you're like, oh, this is really great for me tracking my stuff, you probably tell someone else about it, right? And then referrals allow the business to grow naturally. And this is what Hormozy says as well. Like, if you can get referrals right, like genuinely get them right, you can go to bed at night knowing that your business will continue growing forever. Like, as long as your referrals outweigh your churn, you just make more money. Okay, and you'll always continue to make more money. So that's the thing that we're doing with the community at the moment. We're trying to make the community so good and increase the number of referrals by so much that it literally doesn't make a difference when people leave, because as long as we're making more referrals and we're getting more referrals than we are churn, which has been the case for the past 2-3 months, like, we just know that the community is growing, right? So that's just something that I think when you're starting a new business, think about that, okay? How many customers could I potentially get through referrals? Because if I can't get a lot, it's going to be really hard for me to grow unless you've got a great, scalable client acquisition system, which is number 4, okay? So the way that these guys were growing, and I keep going back to them because I think it's actually a really difficult business model. So if you guys can see what a really bad, or not bad, but difficult, challenging business model to grow is, you can also hopefully see what a good business model would look like. So let me give you the context on how they acquire customers and how we acquire customers, right? They acquire customers through doing cold calls, and every week they'll probably do like, I don't know, let me just throw a number out there, say 500 cold calls, okay? Every single week they have to do 500 cold calls to get customers. When they get a customer into the ecosystem, it doesn't even stay for long, and they don't refer anyone else, okay? So for them to grow, it's going to take a hell of a long time because they've got to do so many cold calls to grow. And then how do you actually grow the business, right? You might build up some sort of reputation, but again, like, have you just, like, they haven't really got anything else. They've got a few website inquiries actually, which is really encouraging to see. But majority of the time, if you just cold call it, and the way that then your business will scale is that you're going to have to hire cold callers in the future. You're going to have to train them up. You're going to have to pay them a salary. And the thing that I don't like about that, although nothing wrong with it, the thing I don't like about it is nobody wants to be sitting on a cold call trying to call up 1,000 people a week and hopes that they're going to make a sale. Like, it's just a boring job to do. It's draining. And if you're a founder and a business owner, that's the last thing that you actually want to be doing. So on the flip side, the other things that you can do is like a cold email campaign, right? That's cold outreach. Or you can do paid ads, which is what we do, or you can do content. Those, in my eyes, are much easier because, for example, we do paid ads. I spend about 2 weeks getting my campaign right. And then after those 2 weeks, the campaign goes live. For 2 weeks, I don't touch anything. And that's when we get all of our customers in, right? But it just means that I can grow and scale the business without me being directly involved. And if I'm going to be specific about this, this is what we call leverage. So if you put it this way, let's say you get 1,000 cold calls and you get one sale off the back of it. Okay, you have to actually put in 1,000 cold calls, or you're not getting that sale. Right? You have to do 1,000 calls to get one sale. Whereas for me, if I'm running ads, what I can do is I can run an ad campaign. If it works, I just throw more money into it and I get more money back out. Right? That's a nicer way to grow, because my leverage then is dependent on how much money I have and not how much time I have. So I can just throw more money into it and get more money out, rather than trying to throw more time into it, which is much more limited than money is, ultimately allowing me to actually scale the business quicker. So that's another factor. Like, when you're building a new business model, really think about how do I actually acquire clients, and how does this look in a scalable plan. Okay. The fourth thing that I'd like you to consider as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a business owner, is what the hell do I actually care about? Like, what am I passionate about? What kind of things do I want in my life? How do I want to live my life? And this came up in the conversation that I was having with these two guys. They were considering, how long do you stay in a business? Like, when do you switch? Like, things like that, right? And it was genuine questions, like really good questions to ask. And I think the thing that immediately came to my mind is that I'm never going to switch business. Like, I'm never really going to be like, I'm quitting G Team Academy, right? Because whatever I do in my life is going to be somewhat related to the impact that I'm having, which is helping people to transform their lives for the better, right? If I'm going to summarize it overall, that's what we do. We transform people's lives for the better. So the thing that happened when I spoke to these guys, I was like, well, I can't really empathize with you fully about if you should stick with your business or if you should pivot, right? Or when the right time for that would be, because that's not even a thought in my mind of like, when's the right time for me to pivot my entire business, or for me to potentially look at doing something else. In my mind, all I'm thinking about is, how do I make this work? And I think that business becomes a lot easier when you don't give yourself a way out. I went to university. I got a first class in, I did a master's. I got a first class in mechanical engineering at Loughborough University, which is a well-renowned university. So I've got a really good career to fall back on. I can genuinely, hand on heart, tell you that I've probably considered getting a job after uni once. Like genuinely thought about it. And even when I thought about it, I was thinking I could get a part-time job to fund G Team Academy. That was it. I wasn't ever thinking about getting a full-time job. Was never thinking about changing career. Like, I know in my heart that I am not going to be an engineer long-term. I know that I'm going to be a business person. I know that I'm going to use G Team Academy to actually live the lifestyle that I want. If you can't say that for yourself, the problem is that you're competing with people that are the same as me. You're competing with people that will give it their absolute all. And I genuinely, and this is not some sort of I'm encouraging anyone else to do this, but the amount that I sacrificed for G Team Academy has I know that I will get further in business than a lot of people because of how much I'm willing to sacrifice. I sacrifice family time, I sacrifice my health, I sacrifice my income, I sacrifice any freedom that I have, I sacrifice my just being able to switch off. I choose, and I actively choose this. I actually could focus more on my health. I actually could focus more on family time and all these different things. I've made the choice that I don't want that. I made the choice that I want the business to succeed. Until the business is at a certain level, I'm going to make that sacrifice. I'm going to make that trade. So the reason why that's relevant is because if you're starting to build a business and you're not at that point mentally, your competitors, which really you don't want to think about too much, but in reality does kind of play a part. there's other people out there that are probably willing to sacrifice more than you. So when it comes to deciding on what business you actually want to do, try and find a business that you're willing to genuinely sacrifice for, because there will be sacrifices that have to be made. Okay? You're going to have to make some sacrifices in business. And the factor of how much you're willing to sacrifice is how committed are you to the idea that you've come up with. Okay? And the reason why a lot of people like stop and quit and give up in business, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. I think the reason why a lot of people quit is because they haven't actually found something that they genuinely care about and they genuinely want to see an impact in and they genuinely want to dedicate their life to. Like, for me, GTM Academy gives me the meaning of my life. Okay? I'm worthy as an individual. I'm valuable as an individual because I make other people's lives better. If I'm not doing this, I would desperately need to go and find something else that would allow me to do something similar. So just to recap, just to finish up, the main things are, when it comes to starting a new business, think about, firstly, are people in pain? Secondly, how sticky is my product or service? Third, am I genuinely passionate about what I'm doing? And fourth is some other thing that I mentioned that I can't remember right now. But hopefully this has been extremely valuable, just to give you guys some context of when I'm starting my first business. These are the things that I need to consider, right? Two other pieces of advice. One, find mentors that have done what you want to do and go and, if you can't find someone that actually has done what you want to do, you put yourself at a major disadvantage. I build a community. I'm doing coaching. I know the coaches. I know the community builders. Okay, if I didn't have these people around me, I would be screwed. I work at least 12 hours a day most days, right? And if I didn't have my mentors, I'd be screwed. So firstly, go find mentors. Secondly, go find community, right? Genuine people that understand and live a similar lifestyle to the lifestyle that you want, right? Even if they don't have the same business goals and ambitions, have a community around you, right? These are the last two things I want to mention, because if you don't have these things, you're at a disadvantage again, right? Because you're going to naturally pick up habits and learn from mistakes that other people in your network make. And if the people in your network aren't in the same sphere as you mentally, or they're not in the same industry as you, then you're not going to learn as quickly as you could have done if you were around the right people. So again, my advice to you, last two things: get mentors that have been through it, that have seen the world, that actually know where you want to be and can give you the right advice. And secondly, start hanging around other people that you want to be like, to reframe what your normal actually looks like. That's my advice on starting your business and what kind of things you should consider. If you've got anything else that you think is worth mentioning, make sure you add it down below. Other things that Hormozy says, just as a final point: grow market, paying rich. Yeah, find people that make sure that your market is growing. Try not to go into something like SEO at this point when AI is taking over and you don't know how long SEO is going to be in. You've got pain, which I mentioned at the start, and then you've got money, right? You don't want to be selling to broke people. If you try to sell to broke people, you're basically fighting over pennies. Okay, it's a race to the bottom. It's really difficult to do unless you can mass produce something, which if you want to do that, then you probably need some sort of crowdfunding. It becomes very difficult to go down that road. So typically start niche and start higher ticket, because that's going to make it easier for you to actually sell stuff. The problem with that is that lead gen gets harder. We can go on to that in a little bit more detail, but ultimately don't sell, or don't have a pathway that forces you to sell to poor people, right? Try and sell to people that have got a little bit more money, because it's going to make the sales calls a lot easier, and also it's going to give you more funding so that you can actually build a better business overall. So that's my advice. Hopefully you guys find it useful. There'll be more videos like this in the future. So if you want to find out more about my experiences when growing a community and working with clients making over 10K a month, then make sure you stick around, and I'll be sure to share plenty of ideas with you guys. Speak to you soon.